Welcome to Music and Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Moshe Lewis. Really excited to be joined by my co-host, Captain Bradford. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. It's so good to be here today.
We have a wonderful guest, Grammy Award-winning singer, actor, songwriter. So I'm just continuing to put on this hand, Nesby. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here today.
Just so delighted to be able to kind of really just talk about so many accomplishments. You have worked with so many legends that we love. So we just wanted to be able to call some of them out by name and just maybe even go over a wonderful story or remembrance that you have of people like James Cleveland.
Absolutely, absolutely. But on the first of my list, actually, I began my professional recording career with the Cleveland Gospel Music Workshop of America. I was working with Donald Lawrence as well, being a part of the workshop. Of course, it was always a wonderful networking time of year, once a year. Gospel music artists would come together, and whether you were a writer or a director or a musician, you always had time to share your gifts. And Reverend Dr. James Cleveland was always a great support to artists that were on a path, always was knowledgeable and how we would go about doing it, all the venues, ways that you could be a part of the music business. He laid it out for us and giving us classes and being able to take music back to our respective churches or groups or whatever venue of music that you were working in. He always gave us that information and allowed us to be able to work on a professional level of recording, whereas some of us had never recorded, just coming from our prospective churches. So that was definitely my beginning.
And Kathleen here, we have met before. And
Yes, I remember.
Right?
I remember.
Stella
Good
was,
to
I'm
see.
a very good friend of Gary Hines.
Absolutely.
Gary's
Absolutely.
blood, I love him dearly. Sounds of Blackness, from which you
Yes.
got your notoriety. Kind of, I know you've been in the business a long time, but so many wonderful, great hits from Sound of Blackness. Tell us a little bit more about you and involvement with the Sound of Blackness.
My involvement with Sounds of Blackness came about. I was just finishing a run off Broadway with Donald Lawrence in a project called Sing Hallelujah, the Village Gate. And the Sounds of Blackness, of course, had this wonderful Christmas play that we eventually went on to garner a Grammy for. The night before Christmas, a musical fantasy. And I was visiting my sister, Miss Marie Graham, who had been a part of Sounds of Blackness for about 10 years. And I was visiting her for Thanksgiving along with my family. And Gary Hines had been a long-time family friend of ours, with my sister being there. And Gary came over to visit, and he said, "We're looking for someone to play the mother's role," because they had several people that played it before. He said, "And everybody's busy this year, and if you want that part, it's definitely yours." So when I went in to read for the part, Gary had me to sing. He said, "I wish you would bless the group and just give us an a cappella number." I said, "Well, Gary, can't you play with me?" He said, "No, just do it a cappella." And as I began to sing, the group started cheering, saying, "Yeah, yeah, she got the part." And I was looking, I was like, he said, "Yeah, we're looking for somebody to fill that role." And like I said, I was visiting for Thanksgiving, but I didn't get to go home until that February, because the next thing I got a chance to do with Sounds of Blackness was the music for Dr. Martin Luther King, which was a tribute every year on his birthday. And I always tell the story about how I was wearing my brother-in-law's clothes until February because I never got a chance to go back home from that point. But the blessing came when Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, a longtime friends with Sounds of Blackness, of course, being in the Flight Time band, doing all the events, but because the African American community was so small at that point in Minneapolis, uh, Flight Time would be the after party, man, and Sounds of Blackness would be the uh, invocation, just singing the music after the prayer and the scripture, Sounds of Blackness. So they brought Janet to the show to get away from the monotony of being in the studio recording, and uh, they saw the play and they were just in the audience, and Janet was just nudging. And she was like, "You guys, you need to sign this group because there's nothing like this. There's nothing like this out there." And she said, "We need something like this." So we met them after the show, and um, they were saying they were getting ready to start their label, Perspective Records, and then the rest was history. They signed Sounds of Blackness as one of their first artists on the label because they said they wanted to honor God for the blessing, them having been artists themselves, and of course, world-renowned producers, and also being able to teach us how to work in the industry. I think I had the best of both worlds with Reverend Cleveland and then being able to work with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And that was my uh, introduction into from James Cleveland to Donald Lawrence to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis with the Perspective A&M Records. And it was just a blessing to be a part of Sounds of Blackness. I would say being in the right place at the right time, but being led by God to be there.
You have certainly blessed us with your beautiful voice. Everybody just loves you, and you're such a delight. And so now we see you're just a busy lady. What are some of the things you're working on right now, presently?
Very excited that right now I'm working this new release on a project after having a record uh, 15 years. I'm celebrating the release of my new single, My Man. Um, it's a song that celebrates love and loyalty and truly being in relationship. It doesn't matter our age or where we come from. We feel like we always need some kind of guide to relationship. And me being a woman of a certain age, sometimes I feel like we have a little issue about being in love and relationship. So this song, I wanted to really, really allow us as women to realize there is love after a certain age, and that you can enjoy your man. And even if you're not married yet, you going on dates and having a life. I was just so blessed and fortunate to be a part of Queen Sugar, the series with all, and blessed to share that kind of woman and men of a certain age in relationship and dating and then even marriage to encourage our community at our age to know that there is love and you can find love. So my man, I think it was a blessing to be able to release it at this time so that we could have a soulful Valentine's Day this year. So my man came about with Arel, who is one of our favorite Minneapolis babies. And he happened to be one of my vocal students in the community that I mentored, and I worked with several young people. But the group Next, um, I would mentor them. They would rehearse in my home, um, and then their success, which I'm so grateful to God for. And then you always have that one that comes back and says, "I just want to bless you." And when I was in the studio, he called. He said, I want to put a record. I want to put a record on here. I got to do this, Auntie. This is my contribution. I want to give back. So that's how I came about in the studio with uh, B flat, Brian Cook, and they were already working on a project. So God just blessed it to conveniently come together and come up with this single for this project. And I'm so looking forward to it with a album coming out this summer. So this first single, My Man, is what I'm working on right now.
Is it on like Spotify or something like that? Any place that we can go to it to find?
On all platforms, and Nesby.com. If you can't find it anywhere else, Spotify, iTunes, uh, wherever music is being played, Pandora, we're there.
Okay. Fine, I will find it.
You've always been so positive with your music, always. And since you mentioned Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, talk to us about a special story in meeting and getting to work with them right for kind of
I had the blessed opportunity to work with Miss Patti LaBelle, to be able to write her very first gold record. And I attribute that honor to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. I was on the writing staff with Flight Time. And I was actually working on my first project with Perspective Records, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And that happened to be one of the first songs I submitted. My writing partner was the Big Jim Wright, who's no longer with us, my god brother. And the first song that I turned in, Terry and Jimmy came to me. They said, you know how much you love Patty. She's going to be coming in, and we're putting some songs on our project. They said, if you have anything that you think she might like, we're open to it, and want you to come in and do something. He said, but we really love that first song that you submitted for your first project. And them being teachers themselves, the main thing that inspired me when they were saying that this is a great opportunity in itself, um, just again, the fact that we need this song, that you will have the opportunity to write for someone that's mentored you, someone that I loved coming up, even incorporated some of the things that I heard her do in her music a long time, years ago. And uh, she came in, and I laid down the tracks for her. And she always called me Shy Annie. And she said, I'm so happy to see you. When I see you, she said, but you just remind me so much of my family. And it's always a blessing to see her. Uh, I had that opportunity to do Right Kind of Lover uh, with Miss Patti LaBelle, and I'm telling you, it went on. And then I also had an opportunity to write for her the song "Someone Like You." So it's always an honor, I think, to be able to write for those that have paved the way for you to even be in the industry, especially those that you love so much and that have given so much in the lane that you're traveling in. So that was another one of the highlights of my music career.
All right, so we know you're there in Minneapolis, the home of Prince. You have to ask about Prince. Have you had, hopefully, I guess you had some interaction with Prince along the way.
I did. I had a wonderful, wonderful relationship with Prince, being a part of the Minneapolis music scene, working with that close with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Uh, he was always inspiring and would always critique my music, and he would tell me which track he liked, and we had an opportunity to do backgrounds on some of the projects he did. Of course, number one being Batman, the Batman soundtrack, being a part of that, and being there for him when he would release his music, and he would come in and listen to Sounds of Blackness and come backstage and be with the group, because the group had worked with him throughout the years as background singers, the big choir sound with Prince. And just a friend and just a beautiful person. His spirituality is sometimes overlooked, but he was definitely a spirit being and a great friend.
And then just so many phenomenal people you've worked with. Even if maybe you feel comfortable to just tease us with some of the lyrics, because I know you write Gladys Knight, and she's really strong.
Absolutely. I've had the opportunity also to write for Miss Gladys Knight, uh, being in the room with uh, as a writer with Fight Time, a staff writer there. The same opportunity that was granted to me for Miss Patti LaBelle and um, Sounds of Blackness, but the honor, as I said before, being able to write for legendary artists such as Miss Gladys Knight, royalty, of course, listening to her music growing up, and I was always have my family laughing, and I would be saying, "I'm gonna learn all these words to Gladys Knight's music. I'm gonna learn all the background parts. I'm gonna learn all the background parts to Aretha. I'm gonna learn all the background parts to Patti LaBelle, and just in case they may need somebody to do backgrounds, I'm gonna be ready." So this was definitely a sun-shining moment for me when they said that Miss Gladys Knight was coming in and they wanted me to be a part of that project to write. And so that opened the door for me to write a single for her, Home Alone. And when she came in, I thought when I was writing for her, I thought about her style of what we call long metered songs because she could take a song and the timing and the way that she finessed it going into it. We all know what Gladys does. So my heart was just so filled with that opportunity for Miss Gladys Knight. And I was overjoyed, and I'm still grateful today, and I honor them.
And they're grateful to have you, I'm sure, as you are so now wonderfully legendary as well. But tell me, having traveled all those years in the band and the group and singing and what have you, and how did you juggle your singing career lifestyle with your family?
I juggled my career with singing and my family um, because my family, coming from Louisiana, we're always a village family and we always believe in community. So it was definitely my family that helped me be able to travel and to venture into all the things I did from theater to music, gospel music workshops, and um, all the different areas of the arts. We always had family right there. At one point, um, I lived at 1915. My sister lived at 1914, and my daughter lived at 1916. So we were living in a triangle so we could take care of each other, all following my sister, as I stated before, who'd been in Sounds of Blackness for 10 years before I got there and singing in the community. I came into Sounds of Blackness and then brought my daughter on. Um, when Sounds of Blackness got ready to go on tour, talking to Gary, my daughter, Miss Jamesia Bennett, uh, happened to be one of the youngest members to ever sing in the group. And that's because I was in Gary's ear saying, "Well, part two, I'm going to need to take my teenage daughter with me because, you know, she's that age." I said, and she can also uh, sing all my background, all my parts, all my lead parts. If I should get sick or something, she could step right in and be able to be right there. He said, "That sounds good." He brought her on, and actually she came in and uh, we were there, and I had so much family around me. So that's how we were able to work this business, and all of our family members. My nephew was a drummer for Sounds of Blackness, Mr. Chennai Varam, who had been playing for years around the community and in Sounds of Blackness as well with my sister before I got there. So our family and the village around us is the reason why I was able to do the things that I've done in the industry, and I'm grateful for that.
And I wanted to touch on Mr. Bandros, the fond memories that you might have.
Absolutely. um, being in Sounds of Blackness, our first single, um, Optimistic. I remember when we released our very first single, um, and we went on, I think it might have been, I don't know if it was Jay Leno or I'm not really sure, one of the night shows anyway, Arsenio Hall, actually. And we finished the show and we were celebrating the release of our project eight, the evolution of gospel with Sounds of Blackness. And we went back to the A&M lot after the show. And while we were celebrating, uh, they quieted the room and they said they had an announcement. And when they made the announcement, they said, we want you guys to know, all y'all Sounds of Blackness members, that Luther Vandross was watching this show. And he told his people, that's the meat that I want to tour with me on the power of love.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you can imagine the pandemonium that was in the room of that night, having Luther Vandross, who we all loved, being Luther, being who he was, a big personality. Um, so that in itself, when you hear people talk about in order to uh, do the things that you want to do in this industry, you have to pay dues and you have to do this and you have to do that. It was a blessing from the top. And learning the experience we garnered, touring with Luther Vandross on that Power of Love tour, his professionalism, his business mind, the way he put things together, and his his perfection. He was perfection at his best, and always there. I mean, in every room. You think because he was that big headliner, he wouldn't have time to spend time. But he would come over to our dressing room and sit down and come over. He said, "Oh, I like to come over in this room because there's a lot of y'all. That mean I have a big family, and y'all seem like y'all have a good time over here. See, I'm coming over here." So we would always enjoy being there with Luther. Everything was always on time, and it was done in perfection. As you saw his career go, so goes backstage. Everything is in line and in perfection. And he had us set up, even the whole group of Sounds of Blackness. We had choreographed movements along with everybody else. And I mean, it was definitely one of the highlights of my life because being with Luther Vandross, I experienced one of the most um, uh, high highlights of my life. I always say that it was Sounds of Blackness first release, Optimistic. Um, it was our first Grammy while we were on tour. Along with Luther, I think Luther won a Grammy that year. Sounds of Blackness, Sinbad, Cindy, Lisa Fisher shared a Grammy with Patti LaBelle that year. And for me personally, Luther said, "Okay." He said, "Besides me," he said, who's your favorite artist?" And I said, Patty, I love Patty and Gladys. I said, but Aretha, I haven't met her. I said, she is one of my all-time greats. He said, okay. When we got to the Grammys, he was standing down in front. Sounds of Blackness was sitting back in the back, just chatting. And he called my name all the way from the front of the room. We were at Radio Music City Hall. And he said, "Ann," he said, "come here." I was like, "What?" And I got up and I went down. He said, "I want you to meet Miss Aretha Franklin." So being introduced to Aretha Franklin by Luther Vandross, in background for Aretha, and on the show, and winning the Grammy, our first Grammy, has to be the highlight of my life. So that was one of the most blessed moments for me, I'd say, in my career of music, which I've been blessed with so many, but that was definitely one of my highlights that Luther allowed me to have.
Doesn't get much better than that, girlfriend. Oh my word.
I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing some of the lyrics, but talk about a full circle moment. Just a few days ago, I know you had the chance to perform this also for Usher at the end of his event. I'm sorry.
Absolutely, absolutely. Usher is just one of our babies, I say, in the industry. Meeting him as a young child, of course, being with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, all the young artists would come through there, and Usher was maybe 12, 13, but being able to see him, like you said, full circle, touring the world and just traveling, and when he was coming to toward the end of his concerts, and his last night in Atlanta, um, he called and he said, "I'm doing this special tribute." He said, "My mom is coming and everything." He said, and my mom's pastor, who came in under my grandmother, because his mother was a powerful, powerful woman of God and a pastor, had anointed this young man even before he became a preacher with this bottle of oil, had anointed him, and that he went on to be called the pastor of that church. And he anointed Usher that night with that same anointing bottle. And Usher said, with this powerful prayer, he said, this prayer is it's going to be a special prayer. He said, and I want you to I want to kind of put it together, and I want you to be able to, I want to be able to bless the people. So I was just wondering if you would come in and do optimistics. He said, because I feel like it would be a great seal to encourage the people, thank the people for having been there for this tour for me. Uh, Usher is such an anointed man. He's such an anointed man coming from an anointed family. What he does is a gift to the people. And that is a gift that you recognize as being, as God having his hand on his life, because the accomplishments that young man has made, it should be a highlight for all of us that live at the spirit that he has to give and do for other people. You know, when those young artists do things for the community and for others, the way they do, we don't get to hear that, but we often hear about when things go bad for them. But we should always hold them up because of what they do right in the community and how they invest what God has blessed them with into other young people. So to be able to be there, it was not a question. When he said, "Can you be?" I said, "Yesterday."
Right.
Do you mind sharing just a few notes of that song? Because it's been around for a bit, but it continues to inspire people optimistic.
That's so optimistic. Um, in fact, we thought we were at the end of the project, working the project, and we recorded all these different songs. And then at the end of the project, um, Jimmy and Terry said, we have this one song, and Jimmy Jam said, I think it might have been this summer. Um, I had the privilege of working on them doing a documentary, and being in the room while he was talking. He said that "Optimistic" was a song that they um, came up with, and they built it around the style of my voice, and they knew that it was inspirational. And he said he felt like it was he felt like it was a hit, uh, and that people would be blessed from it. But he had no clue that it will still be such a song that reaches the heart of people. But my saying was always, even in my early interviews, whatever you do from the heart will reach the heart, because the heart knows what's true. So a song like Optimistic speaks directly to the heart of a person. It speaks to the heart of a community. Whatever you're going through, to believe and to trust that things can only get better. And my friend, Pastor Richard White, used to say, because midnight is only one moment, only 1 minute. And if you can wait 1 minute, then it's the next day and you've made it through. So Optimistic is a song that was actually so fulfilling for the group, because we knew we were at the end of that project, and everyone was inspired. And as we had a saying in the group called Stay Prayed Up, and we were all prayed up, having worked through that long project with that many people, especially being us. But that song, Optimistic, has traveled with us all these years. And to have the opportunity to hear it played for kids, played in the background for music of presidents, having sang it for at least 3 presidents going to the White House too, and having requested Optimistic, and hearing them say, even 2 of them, that it's a song they play every day to be inspired, even when they work out, to start their day, and to hear young people come and give you their testimonies of how they made it through college listening to a song like Optimistic. A young man came up to me and he said, I was one of the youngest doctors in my class. He said, when I went to take my bar, he said, I played Optimistic from the time I got up to the time I walked into that class. And then I've heard so many testimonies from other young people. And I tell, when I get a chance to talk to people, I always share the fact that when you go in and do music, we don't do it for ourselves. And then to have the testimony of others to come back and say, that song really blessed me. And it carried me through. I heard my mother, father, they used to play the song every day. And then when I went off to college, I found myself reaching back looking for this song, because it was a part of my life already. So to know that God blessed this song to be able to bless the generations that came along, and so many young people say, "Oh, we sang that song for our graduation. We walked the stage for our graduation." So it's not it's nothing that I have, but it's always a gift that God gives us, a gift that keeps giving. Optimistic, as long as you keep your head to the sky, to encourage someone that you can win. Keep looking up and don't look back. Don't be discouraged, because sometimes our family can discourage us.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes our best friends can discourage us. But as long as you keep looking up, and I heard my pastor's wife say something that I just absolutely love. Sometimes people look at you when you do things, and they say, "Oh, you're just crazy." She said, "No, you're not crazy. You're just first." And first look crazy because they've never seen it before. But Optimistic was a song I felt like it was first in an era
Yes.
where we needed to be encouraged. We as a people, not negating anybody else around us, that we needed to be lifted up. And Optimistic, I believe in my heart, was one of those songs that we don't forget, because it lifted us up in a moment when we needed it.
I don't know anybody that doesn't hear that song, that it doesn't really move or motivate. It's so uplifting to hear it, and you know it. they identify is with you all. And you know, the thing is, our show is music and medicine. And you pretty much kind of describe your feeling about how people are moved by the music in terms of medicine. Is there anything you might like to add to what you really feel about music as it pertains to medicine?
Absolutely. Um, Music is, as you said, is medicine. Um, because there are things that songs that I've written, seeing things from my spiritual point of view, having a Christian core. Um, I write about things that maybe I've gone through. As we know, um, things in our life that we go through that we see that God does for us and brings us out of situations to be able to share those situations in song becomes medicine for those that may be going through and allowing them to see that you're not alone and you're not the first to go through this thing and there is hope. Writing a song, when I write a song, I try to uh, write about some experience and what I did while I was in that moment and my solution and how I came about it and to celebrate how I got over that particular moment. So that's the kind of music I write. I write relationship music, and I'm of the firm belief that uh, love love in a song can never be denied. We only defile music with defiling lyric.
Mhm.
So love, whatever kind of love you're talking about, there's only one love when you bring it all around in perspective. And if we in love share love, then love's like a boomerang and it comes back around. So when you share love, you sow love. And that's our mission as artists, and to realize that the gift God gives us is not for ourselves, but to share with all those around us. No matter what your art is, it's not to keep for yourself, your selfish pleasure, but to share so that others can be uplifted and encouraged. Um, and it's a healer. Music is a healer. Um, you can be in any state, whatever state you're in. There's a music somewhere. My music someone may not like, but there are other genres of music that they can go to that can pick them up. Um, it's a healer. Absolutely. Good medicine.
We'd be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about your acting career, of course, in Tyler Perry, but also in The Fighting Temptations.
Absolutely. Um, I've been really blessed, not only to have this music career, but a career in theater, um, as well as film and TV. Uh, uh, like I said, the beginning of my professional theater career, I started with Donald Lawrence. The first show, Sing Hallelujah. I worked with Dave Talbot, what my husband doesn't know, which was great. Michelle Williams from Destiny's Child, Brian White, um, Clifton Davis, Morris Chestnut, to just to name a few. Having worked with that caliber of artistry, and of course, on Tyler Perry's first theatrical show, I Know I've Been Changed. That particular show was supposed to be just 3 nights, and then God gave a turnaround, and we toured for almost 3 years. Uh, I Know I've Been Changed, and Tyler was a young director, producer. But I would go in the radio station. In fact, I had a single out at that time. Um, I'm still wearing a name with Perspective Records. And I would go in the studio as we traveled on the tour and they would call me into radio, and I would promote the single and talk about the show. And I would bring Tyler in, and I said, Playwright is right here with me. You can interview him right now. And so we built that tour, and we traveled. We had the best time of our life, and watching Tyler grow and to be the man and the director that he is today. It just fills our heart. My husband and I, we travel together. Tim Lee, my manager, being there to watch the journey. It's been a blessing and a privilege. In fact, I was just there doing an interview for my first single, and Tyler called on the phone. He said, I would like you to do this role for. And my husband said, well, how are we going to get it? Because we didn't even have cell phone at that time. He said, I'll bring it to the radio station. That was the beginning of our relationship. And to be able to say Tyler Perry today means a whole nother thing.
Yes.
And so we're so grateful to God for that. Afterwards, having an opportunity because of back again, Terry Lewis, to be a part of Beyonce and Cuba Gooding on Fighting Temptations, playing the role of Aunt Sally, the matriarch of her family, being there to work with so many great artists, the OJs, and Melba Moore. Of course, like I said, legends that we've watched through the years, Montel Jordan. It was just a whole musical community. Of course, we had a ball. No way we couldn't have being there with the young artists and then the legendary new artists, to be able to share and the music of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. I enjoyed just being there on set and working with them. And then, of course, I had an opportunity to do, of course, TV. I think what I try to hit on the very top, touring, doing the Tina Turner musical. I toured with the Tina Turner musical, and I played her grandmother. Had an opportunity to understand the depth of Tina Turner's spirituality and her beginning in her life, and how powerful her life was. Being able to tour and see all the different areas that she had been a blessing to our people, and opening the door, trailblazer for not only Black women, but women as a whole in the industry, standing up and seeking out that trailblazing path where women were able to work their own business path, being encouraged by that, always having been a fan, even as a kid of Tina Turner, enjoy that immensely, and the honor of being able to play her mother and meeting her with the cast, and just the grandness of a Tina Turner, having that in our lives, of being able to pick the brains of greats as such. And then I also enjoyed Oprah Winfrey allowing us to have the opportunity to be a part of the 7th season of Queen Sugar. It was definitely inspirational, an inspiration to me, being able to, as I stated earlier, share that particular role of people of a certain age being able to be loved. Prosper, which was one of the characters that was always instrumental in helping the young people through their issues, and but they realized that he was there alone. In fact, I was only supposed to be there on one episode to come in as a nurse, a caregiver, and after that first scene, there is so much chemistry. They realized that he had not had a relationship as a man of a certain age. And that is what sparked the opportunity, being in the right place at the right time again, and God opening a door.
Here.
What should have been one episode turned into 9. So I'm really grateful. I was grateful for that experience to be able to work with great artists on that set as well. And some voiceovers. I've done voiceovers in the past, but actually getting just finished doing uh, narration voiceover for a project that talks about Cyril McSween, who I know a lot of people are not familiar with, but he was one of the first Black agents in New York Life when they were not hiring Black people or even any minorities. His life and his legacy of having been a major part of the negotiations for the Panama Canal and one of the first Black men to ever achieve um, the status of owning his own McDonald's in Chicago and the Golden Arches and all the celebrity, the things, the commitment he made to the Chicagoland area, being a part of the money portion of Reverend Jesse Jackson's uh, push Rainbow Coalition and treasury for that particular group. So I was really blessed and honored I'm a native of Joliet, Illinois, which is right outside of Chicago, and I had been a part of the Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Coalition. To be able to do this narration is full circle for me as well. So it's a documentary by Justin Cooper, and it's getting ready to be at theaters, and I'm really blessed because that was my first opportunity to do voiceovers and narration.
If it's not too much of a imposition, maybe to ask you to take us out with just a few of the lyrics. I'm optimistic. It just
Absolutely. It's always an honor to share this song. And if I may add, not only optimistic, but one of the other songs that I did with Sounds of Blackness is a song called I Believe. I Believe it was kind of a pair with that went along right with optimistic. And it was on our second project. And I like to say that God allowed Sounds of Blackness to travel the world to sing those two songs, Optimistic and I Believe. Optimistic was the lead, and then I Believe was the pair. My sister, as I stated before, we were flying when America first did the World Soccer Cup. We were flying on the plane together, and I was sitting a little ahead of her, but we met at the bathroom. We had an unspoken moment, but it was a moment that we know God gave us. And we were sharing a room, and the first stop was Germany. And when we got to our rooms, we sat down on the bed, and we looked at each other, and we started to converse about the fact that little girls from Illinois growing up in the projects, here we are flying across the world to every country that America was being represented in for that World Soccer Cup was a group like Sounds of Blackness to sing optimistic, I believe, in the national anthem to represent the country. So I'm honored to be able to sing those songs, a song that says, the only way in is if you believe. To be able to sing that song even 40 years later, but optimistic, to encourage the hearts of men everywhere. As long as you keep your head to the sky, you can win. Be optimistic. Keep your head. You can win. Yeah, you can win.
Thank you so very much. My love to Gary. If you talk to him before I do.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna talk to him today.
Absolutely. We talked with him yesterday.
Oh yeah, he calls me Queen Kathleen. All right,
Yes,
I'm gonna call it.
yes.
Thank you, Ann. We love you.
Thank you so much.